Hey guys, it's Sakina. Welcome back to another Sabbath and Bible study where we read a passage in the Bible, whether it's a parable, a chapter, whatever, and we're just going to dive deeper into it and kind of glean some knowledge and wisdom from God's word. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Sakina. I'm your eco-friendly hostess with the mostest, and I like to throw in some spirituality in there as a Christian woman because it is my duty as a Christian to continue to spread the gospel. So without further ado, let's get into today's Bible study. So today's Bible study, we are going to be reading the parable of the rich fool. This is found in Luke, and it will be Luke chapter 12, verses 11. I'm going to read verses 11 through 23, and we will go ahead and get started. Okay. And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother, that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisted not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, This will I do. I will put down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be, which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself, and is not rich toward God. And he said unto his disciples, Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, neither for the body, what ye shall put on. The life is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment. So this is just a little parable where Jesus is telling them about covetousness and why it's important to not store up your riches and to not covet things. And so I just wanted to take some time to kind of reflect on this and kind of give you some ways for which you can perhaps not hoard your wealth and some ideas on how to better steward your wealth. So one of the things I liked in this parable was basically, I like the very end. It was verse 22 where it says, Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, neither for the body, what ye shall put on. And actually a couple verses after that, it talks about how ravens don't worry about food and things like that. And I think this is really kind of reminding you, like, not to worry. I think when it says thought, I don't think it means not to think, but I think it means really not to worry about the things that you should that you're gonna have, whether it's for the food or what you're gonna use to clothe yourself, because God is always going to provide. And I'm sorry, the sun is peeking through the trees up there, so you might see glare on my face now. But I really like that as a reminder, just like not to worry, because this is not true, because there are animals in the ecosystem that do store up food, but I guess he was using ravens as an example. So I guess we're closer to ravens than we would be to like a squirrel who hides an acorn, or bears who put on weight when they're going to hibernation. Not even going to go into that. I just think that the whole idea is really just not to hoard your wealth. And in this story, basically, this man hoards all his wealth in the barn and basically is like, okay, I can sit back and relax and I don't have to work anymore. And God's like, nope, you're going to be dying tonight. So what are you going to do with all that wealth now? You didn't like make a plan for it. And that's what really stuck out to me, was the fact that he was going to die that night and he did not have a plan for his wealth. So I think one of the biggest message for this is wealth planning. And especially as an adult, you need to have, especially if you have kids, but even if you don't have kids, like, have a plan in place for your wealth and how it's going to be managed after you're gone, whether that's creating a will, maybe putting people on there as okay. And so one thing you can do right now, let's say you don't have a ton of wealth, but you have a bank account and maybe you have a life insurance policy, whether it be through yourself that you got set up, or maybe sometimes your job will have a life insurance policy that it comes with. So those are some things that you can actually have someone signed up for survivorship. And this is the person who, like, if you were to pass away, this is the person who they would contact and who would take over ownership of that asset. So with your bank account, you should always have someone down with your policies, like life insurance policies, things like that. Your investment accounts, you should always have someone down. It could be your spouse, it could be your child, it could be your mother, your father, whomever you feel like it should be the next person to take over that should you pass away. That's something important. That's very important for you to set up. You might want to talk with a financial planner on the best way to do that. But just having a plan for your wealth after you pass away is very, very important. Another thing that this story brought to mind was what to do with your wealth when you feel like you have more than enough and you kind of get bored. God speaks to me all the time and reminds me to go and volunteer. So some of the places that I like to volunteer are garden centers. I love to go where there are gardens because I love gardening. And I'll go volunteer in the garden because not only is it helping them, but it's helping me learn more about gardening. And that's how I gained a lot of my knowledge just on how to manage and tend to a garden, is just by volunteering. So one thing you could do is maybe you can donate to the places that you feel you're passionate about, and donate money and invest money into those places because you see that it's a value to the community. And just finding ways to put your money to work that can better the community. If you don't have kids, you don't have to have kids to do something good with your wealth. You can invest it in other kids. There's different organizations, Boys and Girls Club, the Girl Scouts. There's just all sorts of different organizations for the youth where you can invest in the youth and make really good charitable contributions to the future of your community and the world as a whole. And I think that's a really good way to steward your wealth. If you have a lot and you have a lot of excess to give, then why not consider donating to a charitable foundation where you feel you truly trust what they're doing, how they're using the money, and what the money is going towards, and you can see that as a immediate impact on your community. Something that I think about is, like, once I reach this certain level of wealth, what am I going to do with my life? Like, am I going to retire? And honestly, I don't think that I'm going to ever retire from working. I think I'll retire from working for people. Like, there'll come a point in time where I'll never even consider working for someone else. But retire fully? No. I feel like when you have money, you have the ability to really create. You have the ability to create whatever you want. You can create businesses upon businesses, brands upon brands. You can invest in different causes. You can help fund other businesses and just be like a funder, like on the Shark Tank, and invest money into people who have their own dreams, but you don't really want to run the business, but you don't mind investing in it, and you get a cut of profit. This is just all different ideas on ways to steward your wealth. So don't just say, oh, okay, I'm tapping out now, I can retire. I mean, really consider, like, what can you build with the wealth that you've created? You can create a nonprofit organization, or you can just work with nonprofit organizations. You can be on the board and have more of a say of an organization. So if you don't want to just give the money, but you want to have more of a say of what happens with the money and how that money is used, you can get on the board of a company or a charity fund, or in your community, join the councils and things like that in your community, so that you can have more of a say on how things are done. And I think it's just a better way of using your money. Once you hit that threshold where you feel like you don't need to technically work anymore, you use your work, you use your time in a sense to be of service to the community as a whole. But that was all the story had to give. This is actually a really good chapter in general. I think you should totally read the entire chapter 12. But that is all we have for today's Sabbath and Bible study. This is part 3 in our Kingdom Finance series. If you want to see the other ones, I'll link the last 2 episodes down in the description box so you can catch up. And be sure to join me next week, because we'll be diving into another parable regarding wealth in this Kingdom Finance series. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to the channel, because I post weekly, and every Saturday I'll be doing a Sabbath and Bible study, so that you can join in and get your 10 minutes of just focusing on God. It's all it takes. Just start somewhere and then go from there. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.